So, ladies and gentlemen, the educator, now we're talking about this how would incorporate the teaching of philosophy, the curriculum in the secondary vibes, junior and senior high school. At first, we need to understand the status quo as the government we understand we're living in the society or the current world that most of the young generations really confused on what they really want, right? Sometimes most of us really, most of the people in the university students really don't know what I really want in order to have a strategy or what the plan, what I want to do in life, because it's really important as a generation or as a person, and what they're gonna do in life and visions and missions. And we understand now a lot of ignorance exists in the society, especially Indonesia. As the government, we want to see this improvement of generations. The quality, the character that stands firm with the right fundamental and knowledge and value. And the philosophy curriculum, which gonna help us to learn about the values and also learn about the character, what is the real meaning, and how we could explain it to package it, and we can really know what's really what is happening or what is the background of the things that we do to understand how I should make a choice and decisions. And that is why we see that as a government, the characters need to stand firm with the right fundamental knowledge and values and mind. Why fundamental values are very important? Because it is the start point and the base of every actions in our life. For example, when I learned about why I'm not lying, because I learned what is the real things about honest. I have learned when I was in elementary school, I'm not doing lying, not because I'm scared of the things that gonna happen of the punishment, but I do honest because I know why it's right and why it's good for me and to the society. And this is the thing that we should do as the government, because we want to have a good quality and good valuables generations in Indonesia itself. Because what? We want to have a development in our country itself, and it starts from our generations. We need to value every generation in life, that it started from educations. Therefore, we as a government see this as something that urgent that should happen, because a lot of misunderstanding that happen in our educations. And why secondary school? We need to understand first why this is junior high school and senior high school, why this philosophy curriculum should be implemented in this stage. Because as we understand that a lot of unstable emotions, and then that they cannot even controlling themselves, then in this state we need to understand how valuable influence are. Therefore, junior high school, because this set of children to find what really I am, who is the one I should trust, and why who I really am, and they need to have the right influence. For example, I'm in the senior high school or junior high school. Next step, maybe in the junior high school, I'm still enjoying my life. I will do, but later on in the senior high school, for example, I'm gonna give you guys pictures. In the junior high school, even though I learn a lot and I don't understand, okay, I'm just learn, but I don't know what is the thing that I really want. But if there is a philosophy there, we're gonna help you guys as a teachers to give you a step-by-step understanding, to know who you are, and later on when we go to the next or senior high school, I know what I want to go. For example, me, because later on in the senior high school, I know what I want. I want to go not because of my friends' influence, but my understanding and what I really want to do. Because now we're not finding it in our schools, and most of the school they are not now is making they're not see, because we understand, and most of the school and in Indonesian school they doesn't valuing some like character class, because it's philosophy things, because it's something that maybe they see it as a simple thing, but it's a matter for even the smallest generations, right? They need the right influence, and they have to come from the right persons and the right sources. That is why government to involve there, because a lot of influence in development era, for example, there are a lot of internet, a lot, even my brothers can believe in something that came from YouTube. However, my parents or the teacher need to get back to the right to the right value, and it can came from these philosophy curriculums. And that is the responsibility that can from the government Indonesia. We can create a philosophy curriculum that is in line with our valuable, with our value as a fundamental value, as a nation itself, with Pancasila, with Undang-Undang, so our generations will later on will understand and why I'm doing what I want to impact to the nation itself. And it's not go out or it make understood or make a different misunderstanding that come from these children, because these children need understanding at first that it helped by the teacher itself, right? And this philosophy currently in line with our valuable as a government in Indonesia. Therefore, this curriculum also will help our education thing. That will come because if you guys say it's not important, the opposition maybe it's not urgent, it's something that urgent. Therefore, we need to act as fast as it can be, and therefore we can create a creative philosophy and also creative materials or the philosophy curriculums that came and that is based on the things that is wanted by the government itself, and it's not out from what we want as a nation, because we know it will help these generations to be better, and we have the same generation and like for example visions and missions as a nation, so we can grow better and improve our generation better. Proudly propose. Thank you.
All right, Panonsi here. Panels, before jump to the argument, I would like to give some rebuttals to the opening government. First, they're telling you that basically young generations need questioning a lot of things in their life, whether what they're going to go in the further life, right? But we think that it's not very urgent because basically they're just only asking what actually they're going to purpose of how education and stuff, right? If you think that this is something that really important, they already have BK or counseling, they already have their parents when they understand that basically their purpose of life. We see that basically parents already understand all of the life since they basically live with their children since the very first beginning, right? They know they understand what actually the capacity and capability and the purpose of their children. They are the one who understand, right? They are the right guidance in this kind of thing, especially it is something that very basic or something that very general. Second of all, if you're thinking that basically, oh, it's really important, we see that basically right now, Indonesians' education are very developed much, right? First of all, let's talking about counseling, for example. Rather than BK, you already have a lot of institutions. You have wali class and so on and so forth. If you see like in Nadiem Makarim, for example, so a lot of seminar, so a lot of training that basically directly to purpose this kind of students in secondary school. It shows to you that basically this kind of student already get a lot of information, especially in this kind of, digitalization era and modernization era, right? So basically they already enough information on how they're going to develop themselves, or they're questioning a lot of things. They have so many resources at the very first beginning, right? Second of all, they don't give us the clear mechanism on how they're going to apply it. Understand that basically this kind of thing is very hard to understand even if you're an adult. Even if I'm a student in university, it's really hard for me to understand. How you going to apply something that's very hard and something that's very comprehensive to this student when they start to learning about science, for example, and so on, right? There is nothing important in this status quo. Ladies and gentlemen, understand at the very first beginning, the status quo, the why philosophy started in Indonesia in university, because our government understand that basically the quality, the capacity and capability of Indonesian students is basically not very enough on how they're gonna start this kind of thing, right? They're telling you philosophy in university because you already have enough experiences and knowledge. That is why you have to start about something the deeper on how you're gonna understand the life, right? That's something that really urgent because at the moment you're gonna have like, self-crisis, for example, or what you're gonna do in academic and so on and so forth in your future, right? That's what happened. Understand it basically. We do believe that this is something that really guidance you as an adult because it's rely on what happened in status quo. But if you're like, young children, you just understand that basically what you're going to do with your friends. You are in your poverty, what you're going to do with your girlfriends and so on and so forth. That is why our government understands it at the very first beginning. The problem of education in Indonesia is not that kind of thing, right? The problem is on how basically this kind of student and the teacher need to be developed, right? If you see that basically what happened in PISA score, why Indonesia always in very down when they basically this kind of thing, when they see the students not understand enough on how basically they have good literacy, on how they have understanding in their school, it shows to you that basically Indonesian students are very problematic because they couldn't even have capacity on it. How can you guarantee you want to teach this kind of philosophy and directly make them understand, right? Even if they couldn't overcome on how very basic thing like mathematics, for example, and stuff, right? Second of all, if you're talking about the teachers, for example, if you see that the last PISA, more than 2 million teachers are not capable enough to teach. How can you guarantee this kind of teacher gonna teach you something that's very hard when you're talking about philosophy and so on and so forth, right? It's just to you that basically the capacity of both students and teacher need to be developed. That is why since Anies Baswedan or Muhajir, or for example now Nadiem Makarim, shows to you the main priority is how to increasing this kind of curriculum. This shows to you that basically the quality of students and the teacher need to be developed, right? That is why MBKM and so on shows to you this kind of thing need to be developed in terms of your knowledge and your experience. We do believe that panels, the moment you have this kind of experiences and knowledge, that the moment you're gonna understand or questioning more about the purpose of life, of something that really is sense and this kind of thing. But before that, NEPI. Yes? Here is the thing, right? I told you at the very first beginning, yes, it is important and it's effective because the source is are very much, right? We're not talking about, one seminar gonna change in your life. We're telling you that basically it's a lot of ways to make you understand about the essence of life that you need at that kind of age, right? We told you the government at the very first beginning provide you many kind of way that says to you that basically understand your problem at the very first, right? For example, like training how you're gonna overcome this kind of thing, or how basically this kind of seminars relate on how you increasing the creativity and so on and so forth, overcome your mental illness as the young generation, for example. And also like panels, let's understand about this kind of, education's current situations on how the students, right? First of all, understand that they are teenage and they are having this kind of puberty and so on and so forth. They are very curious so many things. That is why they have to study to increasing their critical thinking at the very first, right? It's the moment you're starting, that is why they're gonna tell you how to basically increasing this kind of thing at the very first. That is why this is how you're starting your critical thinking and so on and so forth. Understand that something that really important in here, you need more of things, more perspective and so on and so forth in a lot of, in a lot of subject, for example. This shows to you that basically the moment you telling them about philosophy, they're gonna questioning so a lot of things that are really hard for you. That's the moment they're gonna have not stability in terms of your mentally, for example, or in terms of having their student priority. They couldn't understand that basically, you're gonna teach them philosophy, it's gonna increasing the more curriculum, it's not more important. At the end of the day, it's not achieving what you want to tell this kind of society. It's not achieving on what do you want to tell, how the children need to be good in, in mathematics and science and so on and so forth. We're telling you that basically as a student, the majority right now, the curriculum is very important, right? Second of all, understand they had to start to learning, right? Understand that basically it's a lot of book, for example, you already the language and example. At the moment you want to reducing this kind of philosophy, for example, in SMP children's, at the moment you're gonna reducing, the language, for example, on how you're gonna tell the philosophy. At the end of the day, it's just to you that basically it's not important. Because if you do this kind of thing, you can learn from the novel or from the historical thing and so on and so forth. That's the nature of life, right? So we're telling you it's not important, it's not urgent at the very first beginning, right? Understand that panels, they have already, they have less capacity and capability, like I told you, because they have less understanding and experience. Why it is important at the very first beginning? Ladies and gentlemen, the idea of philosophy is telling you the essence. It's telling you something, questioning many other things and many perspectives, right? We told you that at the very first beginning, right? Basically, the moment you having this kind of thing, you have your own, step by step in your life, right? This is not the moment when you are 14 or 16, for example, as 16, for example, is not the moment like basically you questioning about the essence on how basically God and so on and so forth, right? It asking you on how you're gonna develop your critical thinking in a very high level. That is what like is not important to begin with, right? After all, we do believe that, especially the teachers, for example. All right, we back to oppose. Thank you.
Okay, to start my speech, but I want to create some rebuttal first for the OO. So the OO said that we have BK and also counseling system, but dear educator, we don't think it's truly effective. Why? Because BK, teacher, and etc. is the person that just can give inputs for our students, not deciding on what will be taken by our students. So thus we think as a government, the student is the one who will decide and overcome their own self. Thus we need to teach them first to be brave, to think about their risk, decision, and etc. So that we think this philosophy is very urgent in our stance, because they are the one who will run their life, not the teacher. The teacher just can give the inputs. They are not truly the one who will run their entire life. And the second rebuttal, they say this is not urgent because people can just learn about philosophy from novel, books, and etc. But yes, it is true. We can learn about philosophy on a book, but it is just happen on people that are concerned about that. Who is concerned about that? The people, the students from high economic parents that do not more thinking about food, about house, and education itself. So they have the further beyond to think about philosophy and exclusive things like this. The status quo of our country, dear educator, is not most of our society is well educated, right? And not all people is have a lot of money to buy novels and have the consent to truly learn about the philosophy. Thus, as a government, we want to help underprivileged economic society to help their children to have a good, more critical thinking frame in the life. So we want to implement this philosophy study in our curriculum. Why? To help them more critical thinking rather than their parents that are not truly have the ability to learn these philosophy things. And then. Why do we truly support this motion? First, in Indonesia, we have so many problems occur in every files. We have problems that do not even exist in foreign country. For example, such as women go out late night and is forbidden, etc. Our society keep debating on unnecessary things. We need our generation to truly fix this and stop this kind of cycle, kind of problem that might happen. So, dear educator, we are left behind from the other country when people already think critically and go beyond further. They already think to create AI, technology, and etc. While we're just debating small things that not truly impact for our country. Thus, we support the government to create curriculum philosophy in the purpose to open the door for our society to think more beyond and get the quality of discussion for more further, more various, full perspective, and more contributive to the country. Why should the philosophy study in our curriculum first? We can and why this should be accessed in the secondary high school? Because we want to stimulate the critical thinking of our students. We do agree that development, improvement starts from a good frame of thinking, right? So. By implementing this philosophy, we are training our students to be a good scientist, promoter, and etc. We also have many problems in Indonesia that not our people can fix on. By teaching philosophy, we can create people who can thinking more beyond about problems happening in our country. There are more specifically on target. Philosophy people have good systematic on thinking that can create efficient solution to help our country itself. And the second why do we think philosophy is curriculum is important? We can create job opportunity to educator. As we know, we have so many philosophy degrees graduation from the Indonesia, right? But they are many of them is jobless because they have no such a hard skill like scientists and etc. And and the result they become an activist that they are just bermanfaat for just their ourselves. We as a government, we better thing to make this make their knowledge to be more bermanfaat for many people. So just we want to create this philosophy curriculum to give job opportunity to that philosophy degree to be a teacher in our country. And how is the mechanism comes from our government? The first, we know that curriculum always change in every certain year, right? But our quality of education is still not increase the educator. Why? Because the first step is there is never curriculum that truly fix the thinking systematic of our students. Thus, first we want to input the philosophy study in our curriculum, and second, we want to create a problem-based learning project in the philosophy study, so we can create more discussion and we can achieve the purpose successfully. So that is our stance. Thank you.
Pronounce here him. If OG argued that it is important to make decisions or to know most of your identity, for example, or something like related to your values, we think that this is symmetrically happens under two reasons. One, you grow, there is a natural order that tells you that, hey, this is my life, and I think based on the experience that I gain, I'm able to gain values within that. I think this is something that is important because exactly as long as you live, you find existential meanings within yourself. But I'm going to answer why then, when you're pushing this narrative, it creates a toxic discourse and answering the opening government burdens. B, we think that we are social creatures. We have stated to you that the idea of family as an agencies to tell you on decision making, for example, is also important, right? But B, also have environments, right? We do socialize as a students, for example, and so on and so forth. I think for all of these reasons, we are capable to be critically thinking about what's best for us or decision makings to begin with. But B, let's talk about their ideas about resources and agencies, right? We posit to you that my first speaker have told you how teachers is problematic these days. For example, millions of teachers aren't capable to be the exact agencies, for example, in impoverished area or in developing worlds, for example. We need to question opening government whether their proposals will likely to create the benefits that they are trying to take on this debate. Let's assume they got the best scenarios. Three things that will happen. Firstly, I think most of individuals, when you push them to understand about values, now they will likely to have existential crisis. Why? Because the idea of philosophy consists of several things. For example, you are trying to question about God existence, for example, and it makes you feel so sophisticated and stressed, for example, because you haven't really seen what is the meaning or the end goals of it to begin with. But secondly, let's talk about the manifestation, right? The comparison with opposition world, you have an exact, precise manifestations empirically. For example, when we are supporting the idea of STEM, there is a science, technology, engineering, and I don't know what it's the but that is exactly is, right? I think the comparison is simple. Philosophy don't teach you how empirically those things can be manifest or tangibly proven. But it might tells you what is it on your head, but the problem is it's not going to give the benefits that I'm going to posit on my debate. But second of all, let's talk about the toxic disclosures that would have this discourse that will happen under opening government. Why? Because exactly there is a lack of precise measurements. Now a lot of people are making a lot of opinions, for example, within themselves, creating such values that will create contests within a lot of people that come from different like a community, for example, and so on and so forth. Why this is bad? Exactly, now you are erasing or eliminating the idea of society, for example, because of all of those contention that happens in the first place. I'm going to give you a simple framing here. I think this debate needs to clarify about the incentive of government. We think that it is important because yes, we want to generate a good outcomes for our next generations. But secondly, talk about social demands, right? Why? We talk about modernizations, for example, where intellectuality matters. But here's the thing, the intellectuality that happens in opening government cannot stand because there is no exact measurements. Comparatively in our side of the house, there is science, for example, that tells you that, oh, you have to learn maths and so on and so forth, which then is going to be good. Not only it is good for the capacity of individuals, but it is good to answer the demand of society, where you need to have works and jobs, for example, and so on and so forth. Why then this is good? Exactly, we are increasing the capital of students to understand about what's best for them, especially when they want to have opportunity in terms of jobs, right? The problem with opening government or even the closing government batch, they have to answer questions whether these people who understand philosophy and so on and so forth will likely to have those opportunities because of the manifestations that we're talking about, which has no end goal in the first place, right? Why then this is what then the things that we are positing on this debate? I think in order to create a critical thinking or improvement of students that is mentioned by opening government or all benches in this debate, we think that we will take the alternative to stick with the current status quo in curriculums. For example, we will try to make sure to contribute more in STEM, for example, because exactly if you want to become a good government, good countries, you have to provide those and contribute more. The reason why this is important, because exactly now the demand is high, for example, in terms of opportunities and so on and so forth. But if the question is whether science has no moral or ethics, that is untrue, right? Because science cannot transcend within the moral and theory values, for example. Because people who wanted to invent something, they have to also think critically about what is the impact on it to begin with. This is important, ladies and gentlemen, because in comparison on the side of the house, people wouldn't probably have any measurement on what will be their future or the end goal of learning all of these philosophical things. I've explained something that is very important. For example, where people have existential crisis because of this, right? People keep questioning about the creations of us as humanity, which has no precise answers in the first place, right? This is actually, but under our side, the alternative that we give or the current status quo that we will improve, exactly answering the burden of this debate, which is to improve the ability of students. Before that, any pure eyes? Can I confirm my time because I forgot? All right. So the things that we are going to talk, but here's the thing, there's no PI, right? Secondly, last thing on my debate is an actor analysis. I think as opening opposition, we have told you that student capacity is important. But what is the comparison then? We think that learning math is hard, exactly. But I think the measurement is important. Right? This is a very good tipping line because exactly we give measurement. For example, if you want to learn science or math, you have the basic step by step in order to make yourself understand, right? But philosophy don't have that. For example, a simple thing like you want to question about religions, for example, or any God's existence and so on. Those things has no end goal in terms of discussions. Even if, let's say, there is a discussions in society and so on and so forth, we think the contention will likely to be bigger and prolonged under government benches, right? In comparison to our side of the house, I think the framing about how incentive of government is important because you need a government that provides you with such good education and curriculum, for example, in order for you to not only fulfilling the social demand, but you are capable to make sure to assure to yourself that in the future you can use this capacity or capabilities to also have the opportunity, for example, in terms of job, is likely to be good. Comparatively, in government worlds, this is not happening because people learning philosophy is not the end goal of you are gaining jobs, for example, and so on and so forth. Exactly the reason why we have people who are only criticizing just like certain agencies, you know what I mean, right? Is exactly because there is no manifestations in the end of the day. They are only creating a contentions, which at the end create disagreements within society. We think that this is bad. I think for all those reasons, oppose.
Okay, so the OO said that to incorporate the teaching of philosophy in our curriculum is hard to implement because there's a it's hard to students to uh, students to know these courses in their studying life. So it is crucial because we believe that it will avoid students from foolish thoughts that they so if it is we know that these courses are we have these courses in our college life that we believe it's already late to get this kind of courses, so that they will be difficult to even to answer a bit complicated question. So why is it urgent to government to incorporate the teaching of philosophy in the curriculum for secondary school? So we will. Secondary students in the middle of their age, they are questioning everything about life, education, what they want to be, and etc. And not only questioning everything, but they also copying everything, or even copying a lot of cool behavior. So what we mean about this cool behavior is they want to copying their faiths or their parents. Or even their friends that maybe, or even their friends that their friends that didn't have a good behavior in their schools, and it also answer why it's also they coping a lot of this behavior because not all the parents have a good education, so the parents can teach them about the philosophy in their home. So because of this, because of they are in the middle of their age, they have to learn about this philosophy. They need to have this fundamental for their life, so they can process an information properly. In currently status quo, our governments need sorry. We want a good quality for our generation, for our educational to not develop. So that is why we believe that by incorporate this teaching philosophy in secondary curriculum, it can give equal education, not only to the students that have a big menengah ke atas, but also can give a good education to the menengah ke bawah. So we need this philosophy in student fundamental because it can increase their character. It can explore their different perspective that can lead to they can being a tolerance generation that not only that we know that a lot of in our generation that didn't want to take this a different perspective and later and to increase their character. So the mechanism that we offer that this how to implement this philosophy courses in secondary school education to our curriculum is by only by a simple thing that the teacher can do to their students, just like for example, like studying in the outside of their classes and learn about small things like you didn't have to being like the other. You don't have to copying the other. Just being yourself just buy this little simple courses that teacher can give to the students. They can learn this philosophy in their education life. Okay, that's all from me.
I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. So if the end goal of this debate is to find the mechanism to actually build our student, to actually have this critical thinking and build their character to actually develop even more in this 5.0 society, to actually adapt to what happened in our society, then we're going to have a different mechanism from the opening opposition and the government, of course. So our mechanism today is that we wanted to, as a government, we wanted to teach these students about debate lessons or debate club study. So it means that as the government of Indonesia, rather than incorporating the teaching of philosophy, we will incorporating the teachings of debate. Because of what? First reason to rebut the argument that already happened around this debate today is that they believe that with this philosophy subject, they will have this, like, learn about values, learn about the fundamental question to actually build and develop the students' knowledge about something to actually make them becoming a good independent person to actually know what they want to do in life. I think that this is best to do in our mechanism because of what? Because I think in debate, it also includes all of what you wanted. Like in the government side of the house, they wanted to have this critical thinking, which also can be achieved in debate that I will explain furthermore later on. And then they wanted to have this kind, and the opening opposition wanted to have this kind, like they provide us the problem of literacy. Then this will solve the problem of literacy itself, because in secondary schools, we can like implement this debate study or debate classes to actually make them read something to actually improve the quality of literacy that they can do inside the schools. By just as a government, it's actually our incentive to actually do something that is can be implemented in reality. Like the philosophy teaching that they wanted to do is not actually going to be implemented very well, and it's not the capacity of government that can actually do this kind of mechanism. Because of what? First is that we're going to need, like what the opening opposition team has already provided later on, that doesn't getting explained furthermore, that the capacity of teachers in our society today, they're not all have this capability to actually explain philosophy. So the government need, if they put this in their curriculum, government need to provide a lot of teachers around the country, around Indonesia, to actually implement the curriculum itself. So government need more teachers. Government need more people are being teach about philosophy matter. But in actually that government cannot do this in a really fast manner. Because of what? Because it's just hard to do. It's hard to provide this a lot of teachers to actually teach in this because of this curriculum. And in our side of the house, the mechanism of debate classes doesn't have to need like this kind of expert in one side of the house. Like we can actually like teach it. But as an adult, we can just learn about debate 3 months or 4 months to actually get this certificate of expertise, and government can use these people to actually become teachers in the school, and then they can implement it in the curriculum as well. And then the problem is that they say that it will, like these philosophy classes will actually like make the student learn about how they exist in the first place, how they can run like the society, how the law actually exists in the first place. And they also talk about how like philosophy is in line with Pancasila and so on and so forth. I think we actually don't need this kind of teaching that philosophy have, because we actually already have this kind of teaching in our current status quo. Like for example, we have this like civil study to actually get you to know about how our system, our law system already exists in the first place, how our Pancasila exists in the first place, how it is built by the historical reason. So I think, and then I think this is unnecessary, and then we don't have the capability to do that as a government. And then I think that with our mechanism today, I think it's better for us to actually conduct the debate instead of like do nothing with the current status quo, that the problem still happen, like literacy problem, and then the philosophical teaching in our curriculum, because it's impossible to do so. And then the reason for this is I have two arguments. The first one is it's good for literacy and maintaining literacy discipline and knowledge inside, because we know that we want to like have more knowledge in something. We want to give the best for our students to actually get to know what happened in their society, to get more knowledge outside of the class itself, outside of math, outside of like language that you learn, Indonesian language that you learn, or outside of like social subject that you already have in your school, in our curriculum, especially for secondary schools. I think it's best for them to teach something that is outside of it. It is something that the government team always say that they want to like learn something outside of like the book, outside of like the current subject like that I already have, that we already have. So I think in debate we can also give this student to actually learn something. Yes. Okay. Why is it that by just doing seminar or like presentation of this debate things, I think it will not work, because let's say that there are less people to actually interest in debate if they are not forced to actually learn this. Because of what? Because if we put this in curriculum as a class study, as a subject study, they will have more interest. They will have this force to actually learn debate, to actually develop the disciplines and the mentality of a debaters, which is the second argument that I would like to bring. The second one is building a strong, innovative character for students. If we implement this in our curriculum, it will build a strong and innovative, like the student will learn about new knowledge, will learn about how it is happening, how our society, like the problem in our society, and how we can solve it, and how we can help to actually give more impact to this problem. And then they can also like debate on the value judgment, like whether we have to do something like this in order to like face this kind of problems, or we can search for solution in order to like solve the problem in our society. I think it's better for us to actually implement this as a class, not only as a seminar or presentation, because there will be no student to actually interest in these kinds of seminar or presentation, because it will need a lot of work. But if we force it, like if we implement it in our curriculum and in our study, like debate classes, it will be more effective. Because of what? Because people will learn about it, because we know that there is no many like students to actually learn debate because of their own will. Like they don't want to do that, because it's not like it is something that is hard. Because of what? Like because they see that people who are debating, they are actually, I was thinking all the time, and it is something that we don't want to do as a student. So I think it's better for the student to actually learn what debate is, and I think it's better for them to do so. Because of what? Because the character building that I can have. Thank you.
All right, I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. All right, the opposition said that it's truly difficult for us to give such a curriculum by interpreting philosophy in our class, because they are silly, difficult to understand things such as why something happen, why something exists, or to find out reason why something is good or bad. So we say that this is not true, because since we know that in the characteristic of the secondary school or teenagers, they are really questioning about something, they want to know about something, how this happened. But the problem that in this school, they are not provide us a really good way to to us to know about something. For example, in our class we get mathematics, but they are always provide us as like a formula or things like something like that in order to us to find a right answer. But really, this is not great. This is not give us a great way to find out if this question is provided in other way. So student is really difficult to find other way if question is changed to other things. So why we think that a student in secondary school should be teaching about philosophy, because this is really crucial for them in order to know how something exists and how some things happen, is it war or not. And we say that this can be also manifest even if it in secondary school, because we're going to give them a basic way of thinking. I mean, how something can be exist in a simple way. For example, we provide them a simple cases, and then they try to find out something. They try to answer that also in a simple way. So the problem is that in status quo we are stuck about philosophy, but it's too late for us to understand that, because no later, because it's already in the college, and we think that this is already late for us in order to understand something. And that is why we think that the argument from the opposition cannot stand anymore. So we move to the closing of opposition. They say that they want to provide a course such as debate. So we think that this can also bring you to a reason why we have to teach philosophy in secondary school, because if you just provide a class of debate where they just only learn about something, and it will be also difficult for them to find out about something. So why we think that philosophy also will be beneficial for them in order to also participate in debate, because they know how something can exist, what is the root problem of something. So they also have a way of answer, or another way to answer something. So this is really beneficial for them in order to find out about something. So that is why we think that a class like debate, it cannot be really beneficial for us to implement in the secondary school, because even if we provide a class of debate, it's really difficult for them to find out about something if they don't have a basic they don't have a basic thinking of something. So back again, why we think that basic of philosophy, basic of thinking is still beneficial for secondary student, because this can give them a basic way of answering something. If opposition say that this can also can also help them to debate also can also help them to answer, because they would giving them a case, and then they also would answer them by step by step. But we think that it would be better if they are teaching in very first stage, for example in secondary school, and then they would also join, for example, like debate. So it would be better for them to joining debate. So if you think that if they just following debate, it means that they should invest in, for example, things in very heavy, like for example, they would answer things in very complicated emotions. So they would be difficult for them to. It would be not really great for them to.
it would not be really great for them to answer that because they think that it's not interesting for them because that's really heavy for them to answer. So we think that if we talk them about basic thinking, or for example in this case is philosophy, so that they can have a way to answer something. So here we're going to provide also to you a little mechanism why we think that philosophy would be beneficial for them in the secondary school, because we are going to talk them about basic way to teaching. Basic way of thinking. Basic way of thinking. For example, if you just learning about mathematics and it just 1 plus 1 is going to equal to 2, but we are going to give a logical way why this 1 plus 1 will equal with 2. So that is would be easy for students to understand more about something, even if it's changed in other way. So here are the beneficial why you should implement curriculum. Why you have to integrate philosophy in the curriculum, especially in education, because education is really important for students in order to get a proper way to learn, because it can provide you a way to solve a problem or things like that. That's why we really proud to propose.
I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. I'm going to rebuttal the closing government closing government said that philosophical teaching more important than debate lesson. In our side, philosophical teaching less function, because we also learn about the existence of something changing, and so that we changing philosophical teaching with debate, because it more beneficial for students, because debate lesson can more be implementation in student life, such as in philosophical thinking. Part of lesson in philosophical thinking, they learn about existency, such existency of human, but in other lessons, such in religion, in particular religion, they learn about existency of human. And next rebuttal, debate class can take place in small era. We can start to teach them basic skills of debate, like how to find problems, how to find argument or even situation. We also think debate would be more interesting and engaging, since this will open up a discussion for students. And move on to our argument. First, philosophical teaching will less function, because because of that, in philosophical teaching itself, learning about the existence of some things that I already said before, such as existence of animal, existence of law, existence of human, existence of story, and we know that all of that existence have already exist in other subjects, such as existence of animal. We learn in biology lesson, and existence of law we learn in PPKN, and we in existence of human we learn in religion lesson, and existence of story we learn in a story lesson. For example, in philosophical subjects, students learn about existence of human, but in particular religion, learn that human made from dirt, and in story lesson teach students that human have evolution, and I would give the impact of debate if implementation debate teaching in school. First is create the critical thinking. Debate teaching will enhance and create the critical thinking because the student will analyze the problem, will give solution, will give express their opinion for their life, for their country, for every problem, and it's important for incorporate debate teaching than philosophical teaching. And if we incorporate debate teaching, it give many impact for people for enhance their critical thinking than philosophical teaching. Such as part of philosophical teaching already exists in other subject lesson. In my first argument, but in debate, student must to learn about problem that will exist every time, everywhere. Everywhere the student in their life, and then the student that learning philosophical less have critical thinking than student who learn about debate. For example, the student that learning debate will more give their contributed for give problem solving for their friend or for they self and for their country, and third, so that debate teaching will create the critical thinking. And then second argument is my second argument is debate teaching will enhance student brave. Why it will enhance student brave? Because the students that learn about debate, especially secondary school, will build the brave, such as brave to speak in front of people, which is brave to speak in front of people, brave to expressing their opinion and idea, which is it can be training for them in class everywhere every week. Then learn philosophical lesson that they just sit and listen the teacher, but in debate the teacher give the student some cases, and the student will give their opinion, will implement it, will more thinking, will give their idea, so that debate teaching will enhance student brave. I think that's all for me. I'm very proud to oppose.